Knowledge empowered them to make a courageous decision. At 8:46 a.m., the ordinary Tuesday morning in New York City was shattered. American Airlines Flight 11, which had been hijacked an hour earlier, slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact occurred between the 93rd and 99th floors, creating a massive, fiery gash in the building's facade. People on the streets below looked up in disbelief, their minds struggling to process the horrific scene. Initially, many thought it was a terrible accident, perhaps a small private plane that had gone off course. But the sheer size of the explosion and the gaping hole in one of the world's most famous landmarks hinted at something far more sinister. Just 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., the world watched in horror as a second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, appeared in the sky. It banked sharply and flew directly into the South Tower of the World Trade Center, striking it between the 77th and 85th floors. The impact was broadcast live on television networks around the globe, which had been covering the first incident. This second crash instantly erased any doubt that the attacks were accidental. It was a deliberate, coordinated assault. The sight of the second explosion, a massive fireball erupting from the side of the tower, sent a wave of panic and fear through the city and across the nation. The Twin Towers, once symbols of American economic power, were now burning monuments to an unprecedented act of war. For the people trapped inside the towers, the situation was desperate. Those on floors below the impact zones began a harrowing evacuation, descending countless flights of stairs through darkness and smoke. But for those above the crash sites, there was no escape. The fires were too intense, the stairwells destroyed or impassable. They were faced with an unimaginable choice: perish in the intensifying heat and smoke, or leap from the windows to the streets a quarter of a mile below. The phone calls they made to their families during these final moments are a heartbreaking testament to their love and courage in the face of certain death. On the ground, an army of first responders rushed toward the burning towers, even as others were fleeing. They climbed flight after flight of stairs, weighed down by heavy equipment moving against a tide of evacuees. These brave men and women entered a scene of utter devastation, working to rescue the injured and guide people to safety. They knew the immense danger they were facing, yet they did not hesitate. Their selfless actions in those chaotic hours represented the very best of humanity in the face of the very worst. The assault was not limited to New York City. At 9:37 a.m., the attack struck the nation's capital. American Airlines Flight 77 had turned back toward Washington, D.C. It crashed into the western side of the Pentagon. The massive Pentagon shuddered from the impact. The fuel-laden plane created a devastating explosion. Flames raged across the facade. A section of the building collapsed. 64 people on the plane were killed. 125